applications or dues. So it's a very generous organization in that way. And I do hope you'll learn more about it today and take some time to look at the ongoing events that the Emeriti Association hosts on the campus. There are many events like this one that are fun and a great way to connect up to people who you haven't seen for a while. So I'm not going to take much time because we have a very full program. I want to thank you for coming, and I want to introduce you to Carolyn Kane, who is our key person in the awards committee. We have about 6 or so operating committees that have various areas of expertise. She's in charge of the awards committee and of course has a lot to say about what's happening here tonight. So Carolyn, please.
Thanks, Rick, and welcome everybody. And yes, I do chair the awards committee, which has the fun and difficult task of choosing each year an Emeriti of the Year. It could be a TA or a TUS. And this year we are very happy to congratulate our Emeritus of the Year, Gordon Rausser. This award is completely based on what you have done since retirement. And I think all of you who know Gordon know that he's done a heck of a lot even prior to retirement, but the focus for this award is on what's happened since retirement, where he's contributed his time, talent, and treasure in many ways that one of the folks here said is multidimensional to the campus and to the country at large. His nomination letter was penned by Jeff Perloff and was signed by 17 additional colleagues, which is pretty impressive. Dr. Rausser has been retired for 6 years, since 2019, and one of his letters of support referred to him as a true steward and servant of the university. Since retirement, he has done what many of our Emeriti do, I suppose. He's published several manuscripts, but he's also been invited numerous times as a keynoter at speakers, conferences, and meetings. His specialty resides in resource economics and public policy, and he's most noted for evaluating what he has referred to as smart government, where a government can increase output as well as be distributive among those most in need of assistance. And in the flat out normal jargon, that means you can do well by doing good. And he's been a proponent of that because his research has indicated that for a long time. He was one of 4 chairs for our very successful Light the Way fundraising campaign that brought in so much more than the stretch goal for the Berkeley campus. That those chairs, as well as our chancellor at the time, who's here, I saw Carol before, there she is, get a huge amount of credit for. He also chaired the contentious and ultimately finely tuned development of the Berkeley Space Center in collaboration with Moffett Field, and he was able to generate a 99-year lease with NASA for Berkeley's new campus down there on the peninsula. But to accomplish this took a huge amount of coordination, negotiation, probably arm twisting with campus colleges and faculty. In addition, he joined, since retirement, the Board of Trustees of the Central European University to get it off the ground and onto a sustained path. And just a little over a month ago, he received the 2025 Agricultural and Applied Economics Association Galbraith Award for his work promoting public-private partnerships that contribute to smart government. And so essentially it focuses on the conjoining of economics and humanity. One of the most prestigious awards from AAEA. So, according to his nominator, Professor Rausser's most significant post-retirement academic achievement is his development of a new framework for understanding and guiding government policy design. There's much more since his retirement. But I'll leave you with that and congratulate Professor Rausser, and then invite Dr. Ackerley, Dean of the College of CNR, to come up and lead the rest of the ceremony.
Here, here.
With your characteristic humility, Gordon, you're sitting in the back row. And there's 2 seats for you and Anne right here. And you really should move up so the speakers have to look right at you. Some of you have been to, many of you have been to conferences recently with lightning talks. So that is the style of the day. One thing to know, Gordon has the last word. If any of you who are speaking, if you run over, I take it out of Gordon's time, and I do not hold any responsibility for the consequences that he may impose on you. I will start as a model, perhaps. Gordon Rausser, scholar, colleague, faculty member, department chair, dean, advisor to chancellors. Restless, relentless, innovative, wrestling with ideas that impact the world. An endowment for the ages, trust in leadership for the future of his beloved college, elevating natural resources to its central place at Berkeley in the 21st century, from a current dean to a past one. Thank you. Now, I'm going to have more trouble sticking to time because I'm going to read Alex Byon's remarks, and we didn't edit them. I can't promise 2 minutes, and I know I speak too quickly to begin with. But so, for those of you who don't know, Alex Byon was vice provost developing the Space Center and worked very closely with Gordon on the project, as just mentioned. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sad to not be here with you today to celebrate Gordon in person, but I'm deeply grateful to Dean David Ackerley, thank you, for kindly agreeing to read these remarks on my behalf. I'm in Switzerland at the moment attending a conference and could not move the dates of the trip. It is a tremendous honor for me to share these words today in recognition of Professor Gordon Rausser as he receives the Emeritus of the Year award. Many of us know Gordon as a former dean, a distinguished scholar, and a colleague whose contributions to Berkeley span many decades. But what makes this recognition so special is that it honors what Gordon has continued to give back to the university after his official retirement: his vision, his leadership, and his steadfast commitment to our community. I first came to know Gordon in 2019 when he agreed to chair a committee for what at the time was an extremely ambitious idea, the Berkeley Space Center. In former Lawrence Berkeley National Lab Director and former UC Berkeley Provost, Paulo Livasatos' words, the quote, the last time UC Berkeley undertook something as ambitious as the Berkeley Space Center was when we started LBNL. It is a 99-year partnership with NASA Ames to create an entirely new research and innovation campus, a project that will impact not just our university, but all of Silicon Valley, California, and the nation for generations to come. From the very beginning, Gordon's leadership was visionary. In the first committee, his task was not just to dream big, but to determine whether Berkeley should even pursue this opportunity. He led a process of out-of-the-box visioning and strategic analysis. The report that emerged, what we now all call the Rausser 1 report, it's not the first report Gordon ever wrote, laid the foundation for everything that followed. It convinced campus leadership that Berkeley should take the leap. It gave us the arguments and the confidence to enter into a 99-year agreement with NASA, and it provided the substance commensurate with a $2 billion commitment from a private partner to pursue the project. None of this would have happened without Gordon's without Gordon's guidance. But Gordon didn't stop there. After the pandemic, when the university needed to move from vision to planning, Chancellor Christ once again turned to Gordon to lead a second committee. This was not an easy assignment. Different colleges had different aspirations for how they should engage in aerospace research and beyond. Faculty had strong and sometimes conflicting opinions. The work was complex, the stakes were high, and the conversations were often challenging. And yet Gordon did what great leaders do. He listened carefully, he found common ground, he brought people together around a shared vision, and he worked tirelessly, even through late nights and early mornings, even while battling COVID, to keep the process moving forward. The outcome of that effort was another landmark document, the Rausser 2 report, a comprehensive 100-page roadmap that sets out the near-term and long-term future of the Berkeley Space Center. It is a report that will guide the university for years to come. What is remarkable to me is that Gordon didn't just chair committees or write reports. He also went above and beyond as a scholar. During this same period, he authored a research article on the future of the space economy, which was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. This work provided rigorous technical and economic arguments to support the very project he was helping to design. To my knowledge, it is rare, perhaps unprecedented, for a retired dean to devote such energy and intellect to a new frontier for our amazing campus. All of this speaks to Gordon's deep care for Berkeley. He thinks in long time scales, he understands the strategic needs of the university, and he embodies the spirit of service that makes this place so extraordinary. His work on the Berkeley Space Center was not just about bricks and mortar, or even about research and innovation. It was about ensuring that Berkeley continues to lead, to inspire, and to shape the future. Today, as we honor Gordon with the Emeritus of the Year award, we celebrate not only his career accomplishments, but also his remarkable contributions in retirement. At a time when he could have stepped back, he chose instead to step forward. He chose to give his wisdom, his time, and his energy back to Berkeley. He chose to be, in every sense of the word, a true citizen of this university. Gordon, in all these years since 2019, it has been my honor and privilege to work alongside you. I want to congratulate you on this well-deserved recognition. Your vision and leadership have left an indelible mark on Berkeley, and your legacy will be felt for generations to come. Today, in Switzerland, I am raising my glass to you, Gordon. French champagne, of course. What else? Please join me, Alex, in congratulating Professor Gordon Rausser, Emeritus of the Year. So we have 5 or 6 people, each going to give short remarks. We're going to aim for 5:40, and that's to make sure people have a little time to socialize afterwards before wrap up. As with the venue that we have here is right now reserved until 6. And I'm going to start by introducing Professor Jeff Perlop, lead nominator and one-time chair of ARE and longtime colleague of Gordon's.
Before he retired, Gordon was successful at everything he did. He published so many journal articles that his CV is 69 pages long, significantly longer than most journal articles. He was, of course, as we've mentioned, the dean of what's now known as the Rausser College of Natural Resources. He held prestigious positions in Washington, D.C., but apparently in the process, he forgot how to stop working. So he has finally found something he can't do. He has failed miserably at retirement. Since Carolyn mentioned so many of the things he's done, I'm going to try to trim this so I don't repeat too much. In the 7 years since he retired, he's published 13 journal articles at the forefront of work in natural resources and government structures. And as she mentioned, his most successful or most significant post-retirement academic achievements in the development of a new framework for understanding and guiding government policy design. And he gave this talk, he gave the Galbraith keynote address at the Agricultural and Applied Economics Association annual meeting, which is one of the highest honors in our discipline. The strange thing is he's given more keynote addresses at major global conferences during retirement than he did in the last decade prior to retiring. He is also the founding editor of the Annual Review of Resource Economics, and he's made it into a leading publication in just a fairly short period of time. He continues to edit it and to write in it, and hence he's still helping guide research in a variety of areas. Gordon continues to provide extensive public service. We've already heard a description of his work on the Berkeley Space Center, his work on the UC Berkeley campaign from 2020 to 2024, and recently Chancellor Lyons asked him to serve as an advisor to the Office of Intellectual Property and Industry Research Alliances. He is also, as was all mentioned earlier, a member of the Board of Trustees of the Central European University and the Trustees Finance Committee. As such, he is helping pick the new, he's chairing the government's governance committee and the chair of the search committee for their new rector. Thus, his post-retirement contributions have made a lasting contribution to research, strategic partnership, and university advancement. His roles as a scholar, editor, and global thought leader and institutional steward exemplify the rare breadth and depth of engagement that the award seeks to honor. His continued service spanning the discipline borders and institutional explain why 20 people, and the 17 who signed the paper plus 3 others who wrote quite detailed supporting letters, have nominated him as the Emeriti of the Year. Congratulations.
It is my great pleasure to introduce Professor of English and the 11th Chancellor of the University of California, Carol Christ.
It's a pleasure to pay tribute to Gordon on the occasion of his being named Emeritus of the Year. On the occasion at which a festschrift was presented to Gordon in celebration of his career, I talked about the philosopher Isaiah Berlin's essay about the hedgehog and the fox. The fox knows many things, Berlin wrote, but the hedgehog knows one big thing. It's a kind of academic party game deciding who's a hedgehog and who's a fox. Dostoevsky is a hedgehog. Tolstoy is a fox. Bernie Sanders is a hedgehog. Nancy Pelosi is a fox. Well, Gordon is a bit of both. Gordon has an extraordinary variety of innovative ideas. He knows many tricks. He's brilliant, witty, relentlessly creative. But the word relentlessly suggests that part of him that is like the hedgehog. In all his dodging and weaving, his engagement in many things, he doesn't give up his primary focus. In fact, one of his favorite moves is referring to first principles. One of those first principles is excellence, and another is his passionate commitment to the Rausser College of Natural Resources and its mission. This combination of the hedgehog and the fox has characterized Gordon's post-retirement career. He is engaged in an extraordinary number of projects, some related to the Rausser College of Natural Resources, others not. But the project that most defines his post-retirement contribution to the campus is his leadership of the 2 committees charged with developing a vision and a plan for the Berkeley Space Center at Moffett Field. Gordon had to absorb, engage, and balance a large number of opportunities, surely the way of the fox, while remaining relentlessly focused like a hedgehog on the one big thing. Gordon, we thank you for both the fox and the hedgehog in your character and work, for your extraordinary leadership, your academic accomplishments, your relentless energy in mind and spirit, your humor, and your unwavering commitment to excellence in everything that you've done.
Thank you, Carol. I'm next pleased to introduce the chair of Gordon's Home Department of Agricultural and Resource Economics, Sophia Villas-Boas.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking with 3 hats today. First, as the area department chair, I would like to extend my congratulations to you, Gordon, on this very well-deserved award. Second, as a colleague who has benefited tremendously from your guidance, advice, and feedback throughout my whole career since 2002 in Giannini Hall. I'm so blessed and honored, Gordon, to be part of the college that carries your name, the Rausser College of Natural Resources. And third and final hat, I'm also was proud to be part of the Galbraith Lecture Selection Committee that everybody talked about. I was actually in the committee, and the president of the committee is here, Tim Beattie, the current also president of our association, and it was unanimous. There was basically was the easiest committee meeting we had. And just to give you an idea for those that don't know, the Galbraith Lecture is the pinnacle of a professional recognition. It's like a big deal. And this is one more example of the recognition that the profession gives to Gordon and all that you have given to the profession. So thank you. We all thank you. And in fact, I think I'm doing a good fact, not alternative fact here. Blame Tim if it's not true. Gordon is the only person to give all 3 major invited lectures at our major prestigious association: the keynote, the fellows, and the Galbraith. So you can add that to your resume. And I finish with the quote. I was so dreading that you didn't read it in the beginning, and you did not, so I'm going to read the quote that was in the award that was given to Gordon. It is as follows: presented to Gordon Rausser in recognition breakthrough discoveries in economics and outstanding contributions to humanity through research, leadership, and service, July 29th, 2025. Thank you for everything, Gordon. I hope you enjoyed this day and celebration. Actually, I have 4 hats. Now I'm David Silverman. I was told not to impersonate David Silverman, so I will not. Although the most innocent attempt is, there's a big temptation, but the most innocent attempt that I can say is, my feeling is Gordon is awesome. I wish I could be with you today to celebrate Gordon's Emeriti of the Year award. Gordon has long been one of my heroes and role models, someone who truly made his own way, the Rausser way. The Rausser way has always meant to understand the economy, not just economics, to investigate problems that matter, even if they're not professionally popular, to anticipate and address emergent challenges with real-world impact, to change career directions and pivot and operate effectively at multiple levels, to tell the truth, even if it hurts, and to confront thorny problems head-on, to be a loyal friend and a devoted father. Gordon was writing about resource economics in Davis before it was cool. He introduced many of us to dynamic analytical tools. He led rigorous research in agricultural finance and futures markets. He developed sophisticated models in agricultural policy and political economy. As a teacher, many of his students are here, Gordon consistently raised the bar, improving the curriculum, taking on new teaching challenges, and making himself available to students. As an advisor, he pushed students to exceed what they thought possible, regardless of their starting points or interests. As department chair, he built a coherent unit that became the best agricultural and resource economics program in the world, balancing policy, environment, and development and trade. He expanded the faculty, student body, and support base. As dean, he revamped the college, prioritized quality and excellence, and oversaw the hiring of scholars who went on to become stars. Berkeley Novartis deal he pioneered became a model for modern university-industry collaboration in the US. Am I okay with time? Gordon has continued to give generously, even after his formal retirement. His leadership strengthened Rausser's CNR flexibility and resilience, and he played a central role in one of the most successful academic fundraising campaigns in Berkeley history. Most recently, Gordon chaired the committee that planned the new Berkeley Space Center at NASA, Ames. I warmly congratulate Gordon on this very well-deserved award, and I wouldn't be surprised if he receives the award again. This is David. Thank you, Gordon, for your creativity, leadership, and friendship. David.
Thank you, Sophia. It is my pleasure to introduce Paul Burnett, the director of the Bancroft Library Oral History Project.
Thank you, David. So you've all been hearing a little bit about the what of Gordon Rausser, what his accomplishments are that merit this award. I'm here in my capacity as a dispassionate historian and to tell you a little bit about this oral history project that we've been working on, many hours of interviews that I hope will be published soon, and you'll all be able to read about the why of Gordon. Why is Gordon this way? Why has he devoted his life to Cal and to research and to students over these years? And you're going to discover a lot, I think, that makes sense. I'm really interested in this species of social scientist, the agricultural economist. And one of the things that's interesting about them is that some of them are experts in technology transfer. And this is a part of the history of this agricultural system in the United States that then went around the world as development expertise. So why is this important? Gordon is a product of that public university system. He was influenced by the extension expertise that he applied to the family farm. And he exists at this intersection of public research, private interest, civic duty, public policy, and this effort to make the world a better place. So, in closing, I just want to really plug this oral history as a really important instance of an exploration of what this kind of social scientist has been able to contribute. Not just, I got my own hook here. Not only expertise that is conveyed to students, not only support of the university, and not only his private experiment stations as an entrepreneur, but the way all of these things inform each other mutually. That's the ideal of this kind of scientific improvement, right? So I want to leave you with that thought, and I hope you'll all read this oral history once it's completed, right, Gordon? And I want to congratulate you on winning Emeriti of the Year. Well deserved.
Thank you, Paul. It's my pleasure to introduce Anne Hsu. And Anne, I'm embarrassed to say I don't have the name of your school at my fingertips to introduce you properly. So I will let you.
I will tell you.
You will tell us. So.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anne Hsu, a proud alumna of UC Berkeley. I got my master's in electrical engineering at Corey Hall and my MBA here at Haas. So right behind me and beside me. Now I served on the San Francisco School Board, public school board, 3 years ago. And because of the unfortunate dysfunction that I saw there, I started a nonprofit K-8 middle school afterwards named Bert Hsu Academy. Now the group of young students that some of you saw here earlier, they were from our school, and they made the trek all the way from San Francisco today on bus, BART, walking, to visit UC Berkeley to get some inspiration for their future academic careers, but more importantly to come and thank Gordon for his support of our school. Now you all know that Gordon has contributed greatly to UC Berkeley in many ways and for many decades. But you may not know that in addition to contributing to higher education, Gordon is also supporting K-8 education, especially those students from economically disadvantaged families. Now, Bert Hsu Academy, named in honor of my late father, is an American and Chinese bicultural school. We combine the academic rigor and discipline found in Chinese traditions with the creativity, confidence, and independence often nurtured in American schools. We provide our students with an excellent ABCs, I call it, academic, bicultural, and character education, all for the affordable price of only $18,000 a year. The majority of our students are actually transfers from public schools because they were not being served by watered-down curriculum, grade inflation, and low academic and behavioral standards. These students have immigrant parents. You saw some of them. They have immigrant parents who are working hard to survive in this country and cannot afford even our already low tuition. So in order to serve these families, we give out significant financial aid, and 75% of our student body receive scholarships. That means we need donors who believe and support our mission and vision, and Gordon is one of our most generous supporters, and we are extremely grateful. Thank you, Gordon, on behalf of everyone at Berkeley Academy.
So I'm afraid to say this, Gordon, but the speakers did so well that rather than taking away from your time, we're fine. But that's not permission to go longer. So please join me in welcoming and our appreciation, Professor Gordon Rausser.
Thank you all for coming. I want to thank Rick and Caroline Kane for chairing the awards committee, and of course David, our current Dean of RCNR, and particularly it's too bad that Alec Bain can't be here. He's a real personality that has a lot of insights, and today, talking about being so engaged in the university, he is not only head of Citrus, he remains the vice provost for the Berkeley Space Center. And that's in part because they're waiting for recruitment to be completed for a new director of the Berkeley Space Center. Jeff, thank you very much for all the time you spent on the nomination, coordinating those 17 people. There were actually more than 17 at the end of the day. There were something like 22. Carol Chris. I've worked closely with Carol for many years. I began in 1994 as the Dean of CNR, and she was the Vice Chancellor, Executive Vice Chancellor, and Provost. They had to give additional titles. She, as many of you may not know, she saved the university, maybe too strong, but she certainly took it in a positive direction from a deep hole that was created by the prior chancellor before she became chancellor. I worked closely with her on the campaign that people have referred to that stretched from February 2020 to 2024. And she gives a lot of credit to the four co-chairs, but that's nonsense. She did it all. We would shuffle the deck, but she was the closer. She was the one that walked in and got the arrangements and commitments each and every time. And when I think about her extraordinary nature, I'm reminded of Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, "Nothing great can be accomplished without enthusiasm." For those of you who watched Carol over the years, work as not only the Chancellor, the Executive Vice Chancellor, and she took a leave of absence for a period of time and spent 11 years as President of Smith. So she is certainly very well prepared, and she's simply extraordinary, and it's a real pleasure to work with someone like Carol. With regard to Sophia's presentation, perfect. I couldn't have written your presentation any better. It was wonderfully done. And Tim is here. He's the person who nominated me for the Galbraith Award. And over the years, I've gotten many outstanding journal articles, research discovery awards, awards for enduring publications of enduring quality, public policy awards, but this is the award I really wanted all along. I used to go to the, as an editor of the journal, which I spent 3 years in combination with a colleague of mine here at Berkeley. We were the co-chairs or the co-editors for the AJAE, and I would go as a member observing the board of directors, and they were talking about the Galbraith Award, and I kept thinking, gee, I wish I could position myself to get that award. And finally it happened, and Tim, thank you very much. And Tim is here, along with a couple of his colleagues, one of my former students, Rachel Goodhue from UC Davis, Is she still wandering around here? There she is. And Dan Sumner, who's the director of the Giannini Foundation. Many people don't know this, but the Giannini Foundation gave $1 million in 1928 to the university to build Giannini Hall, and also to set up the Library of Agricultural Economics, which was the best library in the world for many years. Now it doesn't have any real value, right? Not like it did, certainly. And now, finally, with regard to Paul Burnett, Paul is a Renaissance man. He began his oral history of me in 2022. I was going to say 1922, but that's the time my house was built, actually. It was 2022. We began in 2022. And each time, we'd have a general discussion about what was going to be covered next time. He sent a detailed outline to me. And he also did a lot of oral history work for some key academics who were at University of Chicago, who I knew personally. So we bonded with regard to our common knowledge of these particular giants. I call them giants. D. Gale Johnson, for example, Schultz, who won the Nobel Prize, the only agricultural economist at this stage of the game who's won a Nobel Prize in economics. We also spent a lot of time talking about my years in political appointments, as in the Council of Economic Advisor, as a staff support person, subsequently as chief economist at the Agency for International Development, and then the 4 years for which I served as president of the Institute for Policy Reform. And this was a heady time because we were doing our work in terms of public policy and improving governmental performance at a time when there was a bright glow with regard to liberal democratic systems. Why? The Soviet Union just had collapsed. So we were there at the right time, and as a result, in my representation of working with Paul, he spent a lot of time understanding what I had done in the entrepreneurial world and what the complementarity was between that world and the academic research that I had conducted. And the one thing that's really, anybody that can get oral history done by Paul ought to do it. Because why? Because you're going to learn a lot and you're going to have full days. What are full days? Full days are those where there's laughter when you're thinking about preparing for his video interview of you, and then afterwards reflecting on it, thinking deeply, and crying about the friends and family that have moved on. He started with my childhood. We went all the way through until we don't have today included, right? Okay, and then Anne, I can't imagine a better partner to meet one of the purposes of my foundation. And one of that major purpose is to facilitate the education and mobility of children who are economically disadvantaged. So, now why during my retirement, some people said it was 6 years, Jeff said it was 7, depends on how you count, right? In any event, my retirement started with my Festschrift. And the Festschrift, sometimes, for those of you who are familiar with them, it's a sort of a scholarly representation. You spend some time reflecting on a person's career. It can be simply honorific or involve substantial deep thought and reflection. Mine was designed to do the latter. We had 2 days of Festschrift on the Berkeley campus and then 2 days in Grass Valley for preparing various presentations of my former students and our colleagues. And there are 19 chapters that were included in this book, essays in my honor, but more importantly, far more importantly, the last chapter was selected by David Zilberman, and the title of the chapter was The Way Forward. Okay, so I go to the 4 co-editors and I say, who's going to write this chapter? I said, I presume you guys are going to take care of this. You can work. There was 3 fellows and 1 woman. Why can't you sit down and prepare the way forward? They said, no. You got that wrong, Gordon. You spent all those years in Washington, D.C., you've written about public policy and all the rest of it, and then you have all this academic research. You have to write the way forward. And that was really difficult because you have to take everything that you've done and collapse it into something that is meaningful and hopefully will stand the test of time. If nobody else pays attention, your children might, and your grandchildren may, or your great-grandchildren may spend a lot of time with this. But the way forward turned out to be crystallized, and what emerged from that was the creation of smart governments. And there I tried to bring as my laboratory experience with the time that I spent in Washington, D.C., and my ongoing academic research to isolate what the key elements were of a well-functioning smart government. And one of the PhD students who came to the FESRIF and then stuck around and spent a lot of time in my downstairs office, and we were been working on the book for all these years. I selected him to be my co-author for this book. Why? Because he's an anarchist. That is to say, he doesn't believe in governments. And I figured if I could convince him about the key elements, and he would co-author with me, that would mean that I could convince lots of other people, because he would be a much greater challenge. And for those who know Bill Foster, you know how smart he is. And as a result, he's been a real pleasure to work with. He's unfortunately in Chile, so he spent about a year here working with me, and then we meet twice a week, every week. And one thing I want to note, is Elliot Choi still wandering around here? I don't see him. But in any event, when it turns out when the reference was made to the publication in the National Academy of Sciences on the joint public partnerships for the Foundation for the Berkeley Space Center, that particular work would not have happened without Elliot. Okay, so in closing, I want to say a few, this is a closing that I wrote 20 years ago, but I've never had a chance to present it because always we run out of time. So I'm going to use this opportunity to present it. Now, this is a salute to our university. Our university continues in subtle and often overlooked ways to pour fresh knowledge, human capital, and innovation into the engines of our society. Who among the general public, in reflecting on Berkeley, would have thought that the undergraduates of UC Berkeley would have been responsible for a larger number of new company startups than the undergraduate population of any university in the United States, particularly Stanford, more than Stanford. And that wasn't true until a few years ago. Now, so, as an institution, Cal Berkeley demands excellence and has little patience for mediocrity. It heralds the latest and the newest, but never allows itself to be consumed by the intellectual fad of the day. It is an institution, and I believe this wholeheartedly, it is an institution that thinks both before and beyond its time. Thank you all for coming.
I'm going to invite Keith Gillis for one impromptu final remark.
Yeah, so thank you. I don't want to stand between you and the refreshments very long, but something needs to be said. We have Rausser College of Natural Resources here, and Gordon's generosity to the college is certainly a big part of our sustainability moving forward. But the real story is much deeper than that, and that's why one should always read oral histories. That anyone that wants to understand Berkeley should read the oral histories of people like Heyman or Park or Lech. I've read them all, and that's one of the reasons I feel I have at least a dim understanding of how this place came to be what it is. Gordon, if we think about our history, Gordon took leadership at this college at a point when we were under tremendous financial and political threat. The waters of academia sometimes look fairly smooth on the outside. They were anything but smooth at the time. It wasn't just financial issue. There was incredible conflict below the surface. And Gordon took over as dean at a point when we had stalled out and reorganizing ourselves to actually be prepared for the future that Berkeley needed us to take on. And he led a reorganization of the college where we ended up with a departmental structure that did not reflect just our history, but reflected our potential future. And that became the framework in which we could revitalize our undergraduate programs, which have tripled since that reorganization, our undergraduate enrollment, that came to reorganize our graduate programs in a way that they dominate the national landscape. As Sophia said, she was not bragging. We were the only program in the last national ranking of Ag Econ programs whose 95% confidence interval on their ranking went from 1 to 1. And it also set up a framework where we could think rather than just hiring what we had been, hire for the future in our faculty ranks. So all told, it really gave us a chance to redefine and reinvigorate our mission, our instructional programs, our research programs, and our intellectual life. Without Gordon having picked up that stalled effort and gotten it to where it needed to be, I don't think there would have been a College of Natural Resources for me to be a dean of. I do not think that there would have been one for David to be a dean of. And so for those of us that really care about the mission of the land-grant university, about interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary research, about the interface between social sciences, physical sciences, and biological sciences, everyone here that believes in that owes a debt to Gordon. I certainly do. Thank you, Gordon.
I want to offer a final thank you to Rick and to Carolyn, the Emeriti Society, for organizing a lovely event. And join me one more time in a final round of applause and enjoy food and drink. Thank you, Morgan.